just a couple of minutes to go, just maybe summarize some of the key messages we had from today. So we started off with the IAASA team focusing on the main regulatory issues. From an audit reporting perspective, I'm glad to see Ireland still is quite high, definitely in international perspective in terms of the quality of audit. So if you look at what we grade as grading 1 and 2 out of grades 1 to 4, which is basically, broadly satisfactory audit, we're up at 89%. I mean, there's a global target of trying to get countries to 75, and they're struggling to get there. So I think that's testament to the quality of audit and probably the quality of regulation, if I can say so myself. In terms of the issues that we're looking at, communication with those charged with governance, those charged with governance include audit committees. So that is a two-way communication piece. So I would challenge everybody who's a member of an audit committee to make sure that is working correctly. We also talked about related parties. That's always a complex area for your audit. And EQCR, so that's actually the second partner on PI audits who has a responsibility for looking at the quality of the engagement and doing an oversight of that. On corporate reporting, that's where we started looking at climate change. We're already looking at climate change from a corporate reporting point of view, even before the sort of ESRS come in, to make sure that the front end and the back end align. We look at that. Always looking at alternative performance measures. If you're hearing things about adjusted profits and adjusted earnings or like for like and stuff like that, if you hear that on the radio in the morning, that just set off alarm bells, because profit is profit. If you want to compare it, there's IFRS to make that happen. Interesting point on IFRS 17. IFRS 17 doesn't apply to insurance companies. It applies to insurance contracts. There's an awful lot of businesses out there that have insurance somewhere in their business structures, and you need to think about the application of IFRS 17. Sven gave us, I think, very interesting context in terms of the political background and how the political tide is moving on sustainability. I think his core point is accurate. I think definitely everybody still believes in this, but you are now seeing some people challenging on the practicality side of this. And with an upcoming parliamentary election, I think that's going to become more and more coming into focus. And what you saw then in practice was some of the relaxations, some of the extended times. And again, it'll be interesting to see as we move into some of the more ambitious areas around the SME sector, around sector-specific standards, how that plays out in the next parliament. Then we had Andrew and Michael from Musgraves. I thought that was a really interesting session, because that's really, really good examples of where the rubber hits the road, but also I think an excellent example of a company that was already in this space and had identified this a long time ago, but suddenly now it's to deal with CSRD. And I know they're not the only company in that space, because having a good message for a long time, but then trying to figure out, well, how do we say this in a way where CSRD is going to require us to put it into that structure. But I think that the fundamental piece around, the value that the public are going to place on your brand is now sustainability is such an intrinsic part of that. And it is the EDS and the G, all of those different aspects come into play. From our panel, we had some frightening, I think it's fair to say, aspects and suggestions. This is SOX plus IFRS. This is 60 years sort of condensed into sort of 3 to 5. That's the sort of thing I can say as a regulator we're grappling with too. It's coming so quickly, and it's requiring so much of people so quickly. I think there is, going back to Sven's comments, a recognition of that, and we're seeing the pace slowing down, but it will be a challenge for everybody, and I would say regulators included, to try and figure out how this is going to work, and indeed what good looks like. And we heard a lot about collegiality, for example, and people looking to each other and trying to figure out what right is. I would say to everybody, if you think you're alone, you're not, and do reach out to anybody you can find. Be it, there were various bodies, I won't give them more advertising, but you heard them mentioned earlier on, lots of people out there to help. And then finally, we talked about cyber in the panel, and Caroline there gave us some really eye-opening statistics and figures, but I think also some tools and mechanisms to work with in terms of trying to address the cyber risk that we're all increasingly facing as businesses. So we had a final Slido question, which we posed at the beginning of the briefing, which related to what was the key emerging topic that audit committees were addressing in 2023. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to look at that. Cyber, ESG. Well, there you go. We addressed all of those this morning, but again, nothing unusual there. I think Caroline again mentioned the HSE. I think for probably every single organisation in the state, just seeing what happened there and how that snowballed out of control and how that impacted on all of us. I think that's one which really brought it home to everybody. I'm now being impacted by cyber, even if it's not in my organization. And ESG, as we've talked about already, is front and center for us all. So that brings us to the end of this morning. I want to thank everybody who attended, both online and in person. I want to thank all of the people who spoke here this morning. I think you'll all agree they really contributed a huge amount to what I hope is the success of this. I want to thank my own team, who are probably heaving a huge sigh of relief, and 364 days to go, folks, until we do all of this again. We will be looking for feedback, so please do let us know what you thought of this. There's a lot of moving parts to putting all this together. So anything that works, let us know. Anything that doesn't work, please let us know as well. So with that, I suppose all I have to do now is thank you all once again and wish you all a pleasant afternoon. Thank you.